I'd like you to give a big welcome to our panelists and our moderator. Our panel is Nandakumar V, the Director of Marketing at Comms at LuLu, Anamika Priyadarshi, the Head of Marketing at Comms at Jashanmal, Warwick Gird, the General Manager of Marketing at Spinneys, Dubai, Gedeon, the CEO of Gedeon, Mohr and Partners, Sukainah Alzaid, the Brand Director Alhokair Fashion Retail, and your moderator, the Executive Editor at Images RetailME, is Shruthi Nair.
Good morning, everybody. How is everyone feeling? I hope you're all excited for the summit, as excited as we are. I definitely am, as you can hear from my voice right now. So thank you to all the panelists for joining us here. But before we kick off, let me just give a quick introduction of what is going to happen here in the next 40 odd minutes, right? So the only measure of success for businesses is its customers, as you would all agree. If the customer is satisfied, then the business will flourish. If the customer is unhappy, the business will reduce to dust in no time. Sorry, I have to be a little dramatic here. Big data has emerged as a saving grace, as everybody on this panel knows, as it holds the power to help retailers retain customers by arming them with ways to improve the customer experience. And experience, as we know, is the name of the game today. Though big data analytics, a retailer can provide targeted service to its customers. It helps study the customer's demand and patterns so a personalized marketing campaign can be launched. Over here, we've got some eminent marketeers who are here to share their insights, give us more information, and make us more aware of where we are going. And that's why the one question I am going to ask, like Lee just asked, is, are you up to data? So before we get on, I'd like to introduce the panel real quick, and then, I'll hand it over to you to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you guys do here, right? So first up, we have, let me go from there, we have Nandakumar V. He's the Director of Marketing and Communications at LuLu Group International. Nandakumar, a lot of us here know you as this legendary retail marketeer. We know, we've seen so much on LinkedIn, we've seen so much of you at events, but I would like to know a little bit about yourself from you.
I think you already summed up everything about me. But yes, Nandakumar, been with retail media industry for almost 22, 23 years now. Been part of many such events, and is always a learning curve, so I intend to share some and get some more from you.
Thanks, Nandakumar. We have Warwick Gird, who is from Spinneys, General Manager Marketing at Spinneys. Warwick.
Good morning, Shruthi. Great to be with you all here today. So as you said, I lead the marketing team for Spinneys in the UAE and Oman, soon to open in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia as well. And we also run the Waitrose and Partners brand here in the UAE.
Thanks, Warwick. And Maria, who was a retailer, moved to the other side now, is a consultant right now. Maria, tell us more.
So hi, very happy to be here. Thank you, Shruthi and Justina, for this beautiful event. So my name's Maria. I'm the founder and CEO of Gedeon, Mohr and Partners, and also a brand I'm launching called RetailME. I'm the former Chief Customer and Marketing Officer of the Shalhoub Group and Majid Al Futtaim Entertainment.
Thanks, Maria. Sukainah is here from Saudi, guys. Thank you, Sukainah, for joining us here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Sukainah Zaid. I'm a commercial director at Alhokair Fashion Retail. Generally, I'm managing a brand, and I used to manage a variety of brands in Alhokair among our portfolio.
Great. And Anamika Priyadarshi from Jashanmal.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anamika. I head marketing and e-commerce and corporate communication at Jashanmal Group. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us. So first things first, right? We're going to talk about data. One thing we do know is retailers in this room, on this panel, we all sit on a pool of data from customers. We've got so much information on them. But if you don't know what to really do with it, it's just numbers, right? So Nandakumar, let me just start with you. You obviously have access to so much data from the millions of customers from different regions, across different cohorts as well. First, how do you really make sense of all of that data? And second, what exactly do you put it to use for?
I mean, yeah, as all marketing professionals are known, they're known as storytellers, correct? We're supposed to be telling stories. And back in the days, we're supposed to tell stories the way we want it and hope that the right audience listens to that. But with all this data and analytics and all the tech innovation, now we have to be very, very careful about, we have to come out with multiple stories, multiple languages, multiple formats, multiple keywords, and find the exact audience who should listen to our story, correct? So that's where the data comes in. And somebody who handles almost 235 malls and shopping centers and hypermarkets, almost 20 countries, I know how difficult it is for all of us. Issue is, we have millions of data, what we use it for. At LuLu, we have come up with data, and then we layered that with many other understanding to find out how we can customize the offering based on his offline buying, and then how we can offer him something online which will complement or which will upsell or rather recruit him as an online shopper or vice versa. We also use data, or rather we should use data to onboard them on social medias or other platforms and understand and rather start engaging with them. It should be going beyond transactional, I would say. Engage with them, converse with them, understand what they do, and that would be another big take-home from data analytics. And apart from the B2C, other purposes like customizing offers, promotions, or product selection, we also have a lot of B2B usage of them. We use data to understand product forecasting, inventory management to extent, even product placements in our store. In fact, very interesting, I recently saw a company, Alzaid, who helps organizations such as us understand. They take the first-party data, layer it with the demographic and psychographic profile of the location we are in, and find duplicate location, which will have similar demographic and psychographic. So LuLu Barsha might or might not be similar to LuLu Gisais, while you see a LuLu in Festival Plaza almost similar to a LuLu in Festival City, because that's based on the demographic analysis we find. And then that's why we have different or similar stores in some areas, because that's based on the understanding what we have of the demographic profile of the region. So to sum it up, data should or rather have both usage of B2C and B2B. Thank you.
Got it. Especially your Silicon Oasis store. Beautiful store. It's so different from anything else we've seen in Dubai in the past. And I think you've answered why the stores are so different everywhere. But just on the same line, Sukainah, I'd like to come to you now, right? So Alhokair fashion retail, although you're in the retail or fashion retail vertical of it, we've seen a dramatic shift happen in the Saudi retail landscape. We've seen so many new brands setting up in Saudi and choosing Saudi as their location out of their home countries. Like within you itself, Flying Tiger, Copenhagen, Public Desire, Alo Yoga, such different brands coming to you. So at this scale, how exactly are you putting the data you get from all of these different verticals of fashion retail, if I have to mention that, and how are you catering to the customers of these different verticals?
Well, simply put, data helps us understand not only our customer, but also the trends that is going on in the region, because now Saudi is becoming economical hub and social hub, cultural hub. So a lot of attention is being paid, to Riyadh and Saudi. So you see a lot of businesses are trying to make Saudi their first shopping hub when they are trying to open. Example, Alo Yoga, their first expansion, happened outside of the US, happened in Riyadh in our stores. Customers are becoming more clear about what they want. So when we communicate with our customers and collect the data, whether it was online or from the omni channels or from the other marketing, social networking that we are communicating with our customers, they are very verbal about what they want. This helps us map out where are we going to expand our stores, even within Saudi. How are we going to select our brand? How are we going to select our assortment? How to verify between, the brand and cross-branding when we are marketing for these brands. This is one of the main focus to grow our portfolio and verify our, brands when we are obtaining them.
Got it. All right. So obviously customers are definitely becoming more informed, more aware, and also less loyal, right? Because of the number of options they have available today. Warwick, I'm going to come to you now. So from what our two panelists have spoken so far, looks like, there's just so many touch points and accesses to data that we have today, right, at this stage. But then we have seen a problem in the past in this region where the headquarters doesn't talk to the store doesn't talk to the fulfillment center doesn't talk to the customers online, and everything and every technology operates in silos. Is that a problem that you have faced with Spinneys, and how are you aiming at tackling that issue?
I think it's definitely a problem that we've had to overcome at Spinneys, and we've seen it across a number of our partners as well, where the departments aren't speaking to each other or communicating with each other effectively. I think it came up on the previous panel as well. And in a similar vein, we have found that when we put the customer at the center of our business, and in order to truly put the customer at the center of the business, every department needs to put knowing about who the customer is and being more personal with that customer first. We find that if the focal point is driven towards getting to know the customer in a better and more meaningful way, it really helps aid decision making and the sharing, fast, efficient sharing of data more seamless. So I'd say that's probably the biggest step towards sharing data more efficiently in our business, has been putting the customer right as the focus, no matter which department you may be working in.
Sure, putting the customer first for sure, but also personalization is something we've seen, right? But today we're talking about hyper-personalization, whatever that means, and I think I'll come to you, Maria, for what it actually means, probably understanding the customer and their evolving needs. I think one very interesting example, which I'm sure a lot of you know about, is what happened with Target, where Target figured that the customer is pregnant before their father and started actually recommending all of these pregnancy products for them. That's the level of knowledge and information they have on the customers. So Maria, let me come to you with what hyper-personalization means and what is the kind of investment that is required to achieve that level of hyper-personalization.
So look, from an investment perspective, it really depends on the maturity of every organization, whether it's their people, whether they in-source or outsource their data and tech departments, what tools they use, and so on and so forth. So it can vary from being free to being extremely expensive, depending on their levels of maturity. When it comes to personalization, I think I'm going to give you some examples of my time at Majid and Futtaim, because they're known to be pretty advanced in their journey when it comes to data. So obviously, it's a multi-brand, multi-industry conglomerate. And I think what they've quickly realized tens of years ago is that they could know so much more about the customer if they brought all of this data and put it together. So they've started building their golden customer record, and they have over 15 million unique customers on this GCR. So from Carrefour to cinema to fashion, lifestyle, home, finance, even healthcare at some point, they really knew everything about the customer, all the way to what blood type they are. And I think it could become really intrusive, but the way we've done it is to really use it to enhance the experience and make sure that we are serving customers wherever they want, whenever they want. And some examples are cinema examples where, we knew fans were, like cinema goers were huge fans of Marvel's, the Marvel series, for example. Before the Marvel movies were out, we would serve them an ad or an email to tell them that the Marvel films were coming, and within minutes, we could sell out the first few screenings of our Marvel film because we knew how excited these customers were. To add a small layer of complexity, we know exactly what they eat as well because F&B is online, so we would add to their basket their favorite popcorn, their favorite nachos, their favorite drink, and try and upsell them with an additional experience, whether it's memorabilia or whether it's additional food and beverage. And we worked on a one-click checkout solution where, all they need to do is check out, and then everything would be in their basket and easy to go. And then all the way to them telling us when they were about to get to the cinema so their food could be prepared with a click of a button. They just should say, prepare my order, and then within 10 minutes their order will be ready for pickup at the counter, or their order could be waiting for them at their seat. So I think this is kind of the level of personalization you could get into, but I think one piece of advice from me listening to my fellow panelists here is start with the problem. What is your problem? What is it that you're trying to solve? Because you could very easily, get lost with the amount of data that you have, and it's so inexpensive to store data now, and everyone's on this spree to collect as much data as possible. But unless you have a use case that requires the data, just figure out what your golden metrics are and don't get lost in all of it.
That's a brilliant point, right? Like, start with the problem and work backwards from there. So I'm going to jump on that and ask you exactly that. So what problems do you think identifying the right kind of data and addressing the needs would address for Jashanmal? And also, if you can support that with examples of how you've actually put your data to good use, that would be great.
I'll just take up from what Maria was saying, that A, yes, you need data, but B, you also need people who can understand the data for you. So right now, when you're looking at investment, you're also looking at people. Human resource is becoming such a big challenge right now to find people who will be able to interpret and analyze that data for you. And that is something which is really coming into forefront, data scientists, people who are able to comprehend the data in the right way, because we all have so much of data available. But somebody needs to be there to analyze it in the right way, to use it to the best of your ability. I think that is also becoming very important.
Sure. So with the right kind of data personnel that you have you started any campaigns within the company, or can you share examples of what Jashanmal has actually achieved?
Yes, small campaigns to just ensure that, especially for e-commerce, to ensure that, cart abandonment gets reduced, or how to make sure that there is personalization if the customer has chosen a t-shirt, to make sure you recommend the right trousers for the t-shirt, so the customer is able to make a better selection and your basket size improves. So we are really at taking infancy steps right now, and we have introduced many case studies or many use cases, but these are very small use cases. But then when we club all these use cases together, then we've seen that we can see at least a 14 to 15% jump in our e-commerce transactions, and our basket value has improved tremendously.
Nandakumar, did you want to add to that?
Talking about this hyper-personalization and what panelists have been saying, technologies are available. Technologies are available. There are many of them, correct, to use. What is more important? What data are we looking at? How we want to use it, correct? How are we going to curate it? Very well said by Anamika, that resource is a very critical point, apart from the tech. Investment, not necessarily expensive when I was looking at it, correct? Investment is not the key word here. The key word would be, what are you going to do with that? Example, if you have right technology and resources, you can do wonderful things at minimal cost. Recently, we saw examples. The Divio CEO, Soumya, was speaking before, my go-to person for many a time, has come up with this beautiful technology where they create, example, 100 similar-looking video clips, and then 3 clips from them, that stack is taken and customized to show you, rather than creating a totally different video for each person. So you have a set of stock video of, say, 100, I'm giving you an example, 100 clips, and then million options could be created. So what you see would not be same as what Maria is seeing somewhere else. So that is what it would be. So that requires a lot of planning rather than cost. So investment is not the critical here. Return on investment point of view, look at it. It's not transactional. It is not that you do something and next day you get return. I don't think that is the way you should be judging the ROI here. It is more experiential and more long-term. How you make them feel is what is more critical here. So obviously, you start engaging with them in their own language, they'll be there with you for a long time.
And I think just To add to that, it's the transformation that is expensive. It's the people that are expensive. It's what you're going to invest in training, in upskilling, in reskilling that is expensive, not so much getting your models ready or the data or the investment in one particular thing.
Expecting your legacy staff to suddenly become a data expert and tech expert and delivering the right thing is slightly over ask. Either you skill them rightly or get a right skill.
I'm so glad you're mentioning it right now, because our next session is exactly about this, about the people focus and how it's about retraining, reskilling, upskilling. So obviously a very important session coming up next as well. But right now when we're talking about the data part of it, right? Obviously you've spoken about the retail people, but when it comes to retail customers, we all know that customer acquisition is important, retaining customers is important, but there's also an evolution that customers go through. There's nurturing customers at every single life cycle stage that they go through, which I feel is somehow forgotten, where they're not really nurtured throughout their journey, throughout their evolutionary process. So is there anyone who'd like to pick it about how exactly can retailers use the right tech tools to nurture customers through every process? And this is perhaps where personalization and data really comes into play, right? Would you like to take it, Sukainah?
Definitely. I think the synergy between the stores offline and the online channels that we have, it's what creating this life circle in our brands. So we see the communication going back and forth, whether it was an online platform where we want to see a real store like Public Desire, or whether it was when we launch a new brand like Flying Tiger Copenhagen or Decathlon or Allo Yoga, customer right away demanding of the online channels that we offer them that comes along with the offline stores. It's the communication between the two data coming from both ways that we are apply it in the stores. We see it a lot now that we are taking the data we're having from the stores and applying it online, and same way that we are following with the trend online and applying it in actually merchandising the stores according to what the online trend are going and how are we following these trends. This way, keep the customers in the same life circle where when they go online, they feel the same journey that they are feeling it offline.
Right. So in terms of that, right, when we're talking about having different or same kind of experiences or similar experiences online and offline, we have seen that, right? I mean, I think a lot of you will agree that we have seen a lot of brands, without naming names, it's a completely different experience on their app, on the e-commerce side, and on the store. It's a whole different language, it's a whole different essence of it, essentially, which leaves the customers confused at some time. So how is it that you can have that parity of experience across all platforms? And Maria, I can come to you with this.
Look, I think we've even moved, in my opinion, from omni-channel to mono-channel, right? I think especially digitally native customers, they shouldn't know the difference between physical and digital, and this is where this whole phygital comes in. I think it's so super important that a brand is seen from all perspectives in the same manner. Ultimately, everyone's building brands, and to build brands, you need to ensure that there's consistency, that you're connecting with your customers in a very similar way, and that it resonates and it creates emotions and that desirability. So if the brand itself is confused and it doesn't have a strong positioning and strong values that it goes back to, then it will leave the customer confused ultimately. So I think it's so super important to start with your brand, and that's why I always say it's the mix between the art and the science that creates a very, very strong brand and doesn't leave the customer confused.
If I can just build upon that, I think at Spinneys we're in a lucky position where we can establish relationships with our customers based on the frequency that they're visiting our stores. We have store managers that will engage with customers on a daily basis and play an active role in building a relationship with that customer. And for us, that's become very powerful to build that relationship and nurture the customer into becoming a very loyal customer. So for us, in the last few years, it's been how we can replicate the feeling that a customer gets from interacting with one of our members of staff in our stores online, and that's proven to be a challenge for us.
Spinneys is an interesting case, isn't it? Because like after talking to Sunil and the others from Spinneys, we did get a sense of how the digital transformation process started late, was a response to COVID essentially. So you started your e-commerce journey rather recently, which is why you could probably adapt to what is happening, to the right tools and technology as it is right now. So which is why I wanted to ask everybody as well, right? So for the legacy retailers who started the process really long back, who started back in 2000 as well, was it difficult for you to now change that technology with the adaptation and evolution of technology we've seen here? And Anamika, would you like to take that?
Well, in our case, we are also very late adapters. We also adapted it because of COVID. We started our online as late as 2020, just in the middle of COVID. So for us, we have been lucky, where we've been able to adapt to new technology right away, to, look at immersive technologies, to look at, and at the same time, we remodeled all our stores. Being a true legacy retailer of 103 years legacy, if you look at our new stores now for Jashanmal department stores, you will find that, we are very phygital, so to say. We have a lot of digital element in our stores. We encourage people to look, because, we have tried to create an endless aisle within the store, where we give the customer the experience of looking at our website, scrolling through it. If something is not available, to be able to make that purchase through the website using. A lot of our customers are old customers, who've been with us for a long time, who are still not very happy or, very comfortable doing the e-commerce journey. So for them, it is very easy. They come to the store. If they don't find something, they look online, and then they take the help of the sales associate, and then they make their purchase. Right. So this is something which is very convenient for us.
So maybe it's not really about early adoption, right? It could be about just being there at the right time and doing the right things at the right time. And COVID seems to be the best catalyst and has been the best CTO, as a lot of people have said. So you mentioned loyalty there, right? One sort of way we've seen loyalty happen here, loyalty programs is, we've seen the loyalty cards, which is produced at the end of the transaction. Points are collected. And that entire process of doing anything with the customers, using their data at the right time, at the right place, during their shopping journey is completely missed. It just might be me, you can disagree. Do you think there needs to be a rethink in the way loyalty is done? Nandakumar, you're nodding your head. I'm going to give this to you.
Generally, yes. But loyalty, as many of us perceived all these years of simply earning and burning points, is not going to work anymore. How do you keep giving them? Customer is smart. He end of the knows that you're just not giving enough points for him to be happy. He's taking whatever you're giving him, he's going. He's not coming desperately looking for that right now. I think we should be going ahead of that. More like emotional marketing, I would say. Like they always say, cliche usage. People don't remember what you gave them, but they remember how you made them feel. So that's where I should be looking at. We have got a huge number of data. We know who exactly they are. So can we customize their privileges? Can we give them more bragging rights rather than just points? Can you give them, the moment they come in, can you make them feel really, really important, especially in a hypermarket environment? I don't know how we're going to make them important, but at least I can start offering them things or making them feel better, or maybe make them easy for them to carry their bags back to their car. That would be more privilege than offering a small burn points, reward point system. So we are looking at those things, layer the information with AI or VR technologies and understand how we can personalize the offering. Loyalty is definitely going to say, from the B2C point of view, we have to change the way we offer things to them. And B2B, obviously, yes, we need to know more about them and customize more for them.
I think I wanted to say that loyalty is earned and not bought. And I think I've worked for 7 years in sports, and I always compare it to when you're a fan of a sports club or a football team. Like, who's a fan of Manchester United? Thank you. So will you ever become a fan of Man City?
No.
Exactly. So I think you are you grow up having affinity towards a brand, and you grow up being on a side, whether it's Pepsi or Coke, whether it's McDonald's or Burger King, whether it's one football team or the other. And I think the sports teams have learned how to earn that loyalty from their fans and their customers. And I think there's something we can learn there. But realistically, you need to create an experience. Yes, you created a program. Yes, you created a card. Yes, you give them points. Unless it's adding value, whether it's from a sustainability perspective, whether it's from a personalization perspective, then customers will always be switchers. They will not actually come back unless you're providing them with that outstanding experience. Whatever that is, it could mean different things for different people. But I think if I was to give one piece of advice, is use loyalty to create memorable experiences and to make sure that customers desire your brand, that they keep coming back for the right reasons, not because you're in a price war and you offer a cheaper product than somebody else.
Yeah, if I can build on that, I think the race to acquire customer data has seen a lot of retailers and organizations establish loyalty cards for the wrong reasons. It's for the reason of collecting data. And that's not really putting the customer first at all. I think to truly get loyalty and reward our customers effectively, we need to look at how we're adding value to them, as the panelists have said.
Yeah, you know, something what MAF has done with Share, as in simple things like having a dedicated parking area in a place like Mall of Emirates where parking is always a trouble. So those kind of things are, which kind of enhance the loyalty. You feel that, okay, you're being cared for. If you are a Share member, then there is something more for you just than, regular earn and burn kind of a thing, which is there, not there, doesn't make a difference kind of a thing.
Exactly. It solves a pain point, right? Because parking was such a pain point at the mall. I had the pleasure to work on the Share program and the launch itself. It's like Emirates, the lounge, the chauffeur service. These are all pain points that the brands have really managed to solve. It started with a problem, and through loyalty, whether it's faster checkouts, they really managed to kind of keep the customer. I would not want to fly with anyone else just because I know I get all of these amazing perks with my favorite airline. And I think it's exactly to your point.
So it comes back to problem solution and filling the gap, right? Like you mentioned earlier. So in the previous session, Soumya, you did mention, right, about the metaverse. We're using AI, AR, VR tools. In this conversation that everybody has contributed to about loyalty, it looks like loyalty, engagement, and experience sort of ties in together, and it's all important for each other. We've seen a lot of retailers jumping on the bandwagon of adopting AI, AR, VR, XR, metaverse, NFTs, etc. But it would probably also be about identifying what the problem is and trying to solve that problem. But then if you look at the gaming environment, like the football analogy that you gave, gamers, there is an element of loyalty there. With gamification coming into retail, could that perhaps be tied in? So I'm going to open this up for all of you to take. Do you think all of these tools can perhaps help in creating a loyal society and a loyal community, with community being the key word here?
I think for us, we look at AI and VR gamification slightly separately. AI for us at the moment is always on. It's helping us crunch data and putting data into digestible insights for all of our customer-facing departments like marketing, commercial, and operations. Whereas VR and gamification for us at the moment is being used to enhance the experience from the data that we've gathered through AI. Yes, it will probably move towards an always-on space, like we've seen through the metaverse, VR coming through more prominently. But for us at the moment, AI is used to create experience and engagement, and VR and gamification is very much used to enhance that engagement.
I would say be where your customers are. Like a brand like Balenciaga has done it so well. They've been voted hottest brand for 3 quarters in a row. They've gone into the metaverse, NFTs, all that. And I think for a very long time, they were perceived as an older brand, a little bit tired, and then they've realized that they wanted to attract Gen Zs and people that are much younger. And I think they've invested in the metaverse. Was it a direct ROI like for like? I don't think so, but they resonate so much more with a younger audience. So if your customers are on the metaverse, be on the metaverse.
For us, we are the suppliers for home appliances. And home appliances have always been considered grudge purchase. You don't enjoy the process of purchasing home appliances because you enjoy the process of purchasing your TV, your mobile, and you feel so happy. But when you bring a washing machine home, it's just a washing machine. So that is something, where we're working on with a lot of our brands to see how we can, make it interesting using gamification, using 3D modeling, where we show the customer, the fun part. If you're wanting to buy a coffee machine online, you can turn it around, you can, you can juggle with it, you can play around with it, and then the purchase becomes more lively and the purchase becomes more easy for the customer.
Got it. So, I mean, I can understand how it could work for a washing machine, for fashion, etc. But when it comes to groceries, would I really want to wear those VR glasses and buy my tomatoes? So does this really apply for a Spinneys and a LuLu as well?
You're talking about boring home appliances. Let me talk about dal, chawal, chini. We are selling potatoes and how boring or how interesting could be. But yes, we still find, like I said, we all are storytellers at the end of the day. We need to create stories, whether metaverse or no metaverse, we have to. As for a hypermarket, which I have been doing business for almost 3 decades now, how do you give the same experience of a hypermarket, 20 years old, on a platform or online? Difficult. It's a big challenge. When you asked me some time back, I cannot. Honestly, with all due respect, we have millions of products in store. We have locations which are frequented by somebody, some segment of society who are expecting something, and that legacy can or cannot be modernized to extent. Yes, the new stores which we open can be almost similar to what we offer online. But having said that, definitely we have to use all these technologies, correct? We were talking to your parents some time back. Now you're talking to people like you who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and they understand totally different language and format of content. Definitely, that's where we are going to create a lot of example, gamification. You said, what we learn from gamification? We learn what kind of interest that user has, and then kind of offer them product and services which are more likely to be attracted to them. It could be sending them based on their taste, sunglasses, which if they're wearing one, or garments, or even so-called new generation product like organic, healthy products, vegan. These are all so-called new trends in the market. These all we understand. A lot of findings we get from these games, and even a simple quiz if you do online, and based on that you offer them back a product on the answer they gave, it serves purpose. So there are a lot of possibilities. Definitely we need to create more stories, like I said, with right keywords and right formats.
I think a trend we've seen post-COVID is more customers wanting to know where their food is coming from and how it's landed on our shelves and onto their dinner plates. I think being a premium retailer, we're under an obligation to almost justify our price positioning, showing the lengths we've gone to source the best possible product for our customers. So I think if we can use these tools to tell those stories in a more meaningful and better way, it will only serve to benefit our customers.
Right. At the end of the day, personalization is exactly going back to basics, right? Understanding your customers. That's what corner shops, I feel, do best. They know exactly who their customer is. The one person who's sitting behind the desk at the store knows exactly what is going on in the life. Today, we're using technology and tools as the scale gets bigger, but I think the principle of it still remains the same, doesn't it? I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions, if anybody has. Yes, that's Somi.
Some exercise now. Hi, I'm Somi. I'm the Digital Transformation Manager for Itwal Group. We're a luxury retailer. My question is, data-driven organizations for B2C journeys are amazing. Hyper-personalization is very good. But with GDPR in place, UAE data protection laws in place, which is stricter than GDPR, and the KSA data protection laws which are coming on, what are your challenges which you see, where the customer has to give you right for every activity you have to take over? Today, you don't have that in place, majorly in this region, where people toss the customer data across the organization because this right is not there. And for many retailers, even today, sadly, who say that they follow GDPR, I have unsubscribed to 3 numbers from the same retailer, but still I get the messages. So what are the challenges you see as marketeers in this region? Thank you.
I think without even the law coming into force, the keyword would be honesty. I would say you should know where your creep lines are. You don't want to be seen as somebody spying on your customer, telling that I know you're a vegan, so here's your vegan offer. Don't do that. You can always be honest, telling them that since you bought a vegan product, I'm offering you this. That's something to start with. We always know that a lot of us tend to sometimes overdo things. So I think honesty. You must tell them very honestly that you have got to know about this of product you have bought before from us, hence we are offering you. That will be a more ethical way of doing business. Yes, on a law front, definitely with privacy law coming into force and entire world looking at the way you are acquiring data and using them, everybody has to be on their toes to understand that there are certain do's and don'ts, and don't overdo because technology allows you to do that.
I think it's not only data gathering that what we're having here, it's more of a data engagement. So what is happening all over the organization is actually the customers are coming and demanding that they want to know more, they want to be involved more, they want to take the decision on what is happening, with the retail industry in general. So for example, you will see it across branding sometimes that they are interested in one brand, but they also want to know about the other, and we will cross-match them whether it was offers or involvement or new store opening or something exciting happening with activation in online or offline. These things that get the customers more involved, and actually it's benefit them even more with the return that we are offering them across the organization.
I think that the GDPR applies to all brands that target European citizens and citizens from a certain place in the world. And a lot of organizations, including my two former employers, are GDPR compliant. And it will cost retailers or a fortune if they don't actually apply these rules, because a fine could really cost them an arm and a leg. So I think it's so super important that they respect the customer's wishes and that they have ways to allow the customer to either unsubscribe or be forgotten. You'd be surprised how many people used to ask us to remove them completely from our GCR and not just unsubscribe from certain communication. And unless these are honored, I think brands can get into a lot of trouble.
Great, thank you. Thanks. I hope that answers your question. And thank you to all the panelists. I know I have a lot more questions. I know everybody has more questions, but we just need to be a little mindful of the time. And I think everybody needs to stretch a little bit, probably go for a cup of coffee. So thank you once again for joining us on the panel. Are you up to date? Looks like you guys are all up to date. Thank you. Thank you again.
Well, thank you, panel. Thank you very much indeed.